And Rick.
Okay. So, Kelly, one more time, if you will, the uncertainty about what basketball might look like this season inside Thompson-Boling Arena.
Well, I think for us, we understand that protocols are going to make things look different for the bench, score table, seating arrangements, in-game events and activities. So, I think we get that, and we understand we're working with the SEC, our staff here working with the SEC on getting those protocols out there that are going to keep our student athletes safe, keep our spectators, staff safe as well. The court will remain the same size. So hopefully when our players take the court, they'll have a lot of familiarity there.
That work better?
That was much better. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Let's go with Jimmy, followed by Graham Hayes.
Kelly, do you know if you're going to be able to start the season with that tournament in Melbourne, Florida, Thanksgiving weekend?
We found out last night we are not. So we are still working on non-conference scheduling. Things have the landscape is changing weekly, if not daily. So we're hoping to finalize our non-conference and get our conference schedule out sooner rather than later. But it's definitely been a challenge.
And what have you been most pleased about through your practices? I know you haven't had a lot, but what have you seen that you like?
Well, I think everybody has been on the same page in terms of learning and putting things in. And I think we've worked hard. I think our players have really come with great energy each and every day. Our communication has been much better than it was a year ago. Everybody's been very positive, and I think really embraced our returners and newcomers alike. So I think it's been a really good atmosphere. In terms of the basketball, it's still early. We're still working on putting things in, but I like the energy that we're using on defense, and I like the thought process that we have offensively at this point.
Graham Hayes.
Hi, Coach. Thanks for doing this. Just following up quickly on that last question with the multi-team event and Melbourne. What are the challenges of figuring out those multi-team events and making the testing protocols match up, or is it figuring out the scheduling? Just what kind of challenges are involved in getting involved in one of those?
Right. I think first off, you have, going into this season, we knew who we were going to be playing at these tournaments. Everyone knew who their competition was going to be, how many games they were going to play. As conferences change restrictions in terms of travel or in terms of their numbers of their conference schedule, teams started dropping out of tournaments. Teams started switching tournaments. And I think the hardest part has been knowing who is going where, which team is going to which tournament. And, we're trying to make sure that our schedule is solid and that we're getting the competition that we need to get. I think that was the first piece. The second piece is absolutely aligning the SEC and the University of Tennessee protocols with each tournament. Now, I do think in respect to those decisions, I think the tournament operators have been really great to work with and making sure that all those protocols are met.
All right, next we'll go with Gustavo, followed by Jordan and Vince.
Kelly, UConn seems to be, I think, confirmed. I saw in their website, have you talked to Jima about this game? If there's still going to be the UConn Lady Vols matchup?
Well, right now, obviously, we haven't been able to announce anything on our end, but the Hall of Fame and it being a Naismith Hall of Fame game and women's basketball Hall of Fame game, Pat Summit Foundation, it is still scheduled. Still scheduled for January 21st. I have not had conversations with them, but I know the administration for both schools as well as folks in those for those parties have been in touch.
And how are you able to communicate, if you communicate with your players during the off season, how are you able to keep them engaged during this tough times?
Yeah, so early on, back in the spring, which seems like a lifetime ago now, we couldn't do a whole lot, and we were trying to make sure we were face to face, just like this, having Zoom calls with them, talking to them about what could they be doing safely. Did they have access to a basketball goal outside? Did they have access just to a basketball and they could dribble inside? So we had a lot of conversations throughout that time, and then we were really intentional with our meetings. We had book clubs, we had diversity training, we had leadership meetings. We tried to be very intentional about staying engaged with our team, even when it was not on the court. And we tried to take advantage of that time and take advantage of those meetings, because that was a real great opportunity for growth for our team.
All right, Jordan, Vince, and then Will.
Hey, Kellie, you talked about kind of engaging your players off the court, but obviously with 3 true freshmen coming in, what does that process look like, getting them up to speed into playing kind of college basketball, and kind of where would you assess where they are in that transition into college basketball?
Well, I think we weren't able to get them here as early as normal. Typically, they would have been here towards the end of May. It was several weeks later that we got them on campus, but we've been able to work with them first in one-on-one settings, and then in small groups, and then as a team. So I think right now they're pretty comfortable with what we're doing. I think they're pretty excited about coming to practice every day and getting better. I think they have picked things up very quickly. The only thing that they're missing at this point is the experience, and they're not going to get that until they step out there in their first college game. So with where they're at right now, I've been really pleased.
Kellie,
Right,
back
we'll
to
go.
this.
Vince.
Sorry, back to the scheduling. How layered are your what if scenarios for games? I mean, how deep does that have to go, or do you just have to wait because even your contingency plans could change? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it is layered. And, we have, all right, let's have plan A. And then if this doesn't happen or fall through, what's our next option? And we've been, one of the things that we have to do is, as we're waiting on information, that's been one of the hardest things for me. We're hurry up and wait. We want it now, but we have to hurry up and wait until more information is had. And so as we are waiting on information to come across our desk, and for us to find out some things, that's where you try to come up with your contingency plans and see, if we can't go to this tournament, or if this game falls through, then who are we going to slide in there? Can we slide a team in there? Who could that be? If they can go into this, or is it going to alter our game schedule? And we're also looking at strength of schedule as well. So trying to get comparable teams best we can. So it's definitely been a challenge. It's been a very complicated puzzle with moving parts.
All right, Will, and then Nicholas Hill.
As a first-year coach last season, as you were still evaluating your team, you tended to substitute in a lot of players. Do you still want to take that approach this season, especially with 5 newcomers and 2 new transfers, I guess, to try to get a fill?
Yeah, I believe going into this season, I feel more comfortable with our depth. I like playing players. They come to practice every day. They want to play. And I think when they get out there and earn playing time, I want to reward them with that. So, in terms of having a pretty liberal substitution pattern, we want to do that. It has to make sense. But right now, I think just numbers-wise, we just have a little bit more depth.
Nicholas.
Yeah, obviously you're one lone senior and big-time return players from Rennia Davis. Just talk about her development through this offseason, and what is the main thing you're looking for her heading into this upcoming year?
Well, I think, historically, one of the things that you can look at Rennia's performances and see how she has improved every year. And I think she had a really good junior campaign. And what we would like to do is build on that, you know, for her to take a really good season and even improve that. And I think that's, you know, finding a little bit more diversity in her game. She's worked a lot on her ball handling, and she can really shoot. She can really score. She's a great athlete. I've been impressed with her defense this preseason. I think she's done a really good job on the ball and off the ball. You know, she's an excellent rebounder. I think she can continue to improve in almost all of those areas. And, you know, being Rennia, you know, we just want her to be Rennia and just find just small ways to be better each and every day.
Jordan and then Vince.
Kellie, you said earlier that you felt like the communication was improved kind of this off season. Do you feel like that's maybe a result of all of those Zoom calls and having to rely solely on, you know, kind of the communication aspect rather than the teaching aspect of it?
Yeah, so I really think that our communication has been better. And don't get me wrong, we're still working on it. It's still a work in progress. We want to continue to get better, but we are much improved in that area. I think it's three things. I think one, we have worked so much off the court this summer. I think it is translating to the court. I think they understand how well they have to communicate to be successful. Two, I think our upperclassmen are just, you know, they just have another year under their belt. They're a little bit more experienced. They're a little bit more confident. And when you have that confidence, it's easier to speak. It's easier to communicate on the court. And I think we're seeing that from them, which has been a really good positive. And then our newcomers, I think by nature are pretty vocal, and, you know, they're bringing a lot of energy. And so I think it's been a wonderful addition to our team, not only X's and O's, but also just their personalities and how they blend and fit in with this group.
Kellie, you may have touched on it a little bit there with your answer about the newcomers, but coaches often talk about the importance of chemistry. How would you assess where the chemistry is now compared to when you took over?
I think right now it's been really good. You know, and don't get me wrong, it's not one of those things that you finally arrive, you check a box and you move on. It's constant. You have to work on it. And we do. We are very intentional about working on our team chemistry and finding ways to continue to build that confidence with each other. But I really like the way the vibe, it just feels good. You walk in, there's a really good feel. There's a great vibe to practice right now, or to any of our meetings, you know. And I think they're legitimately pulling for each other and understand how important that the teammate next to you is. You know, everybody has to be pulling in the right direction for us to do something special. You know, it's not four people. Four people can't pull a team along. It's everybody. And I think they're really buying into that.
Jimmy, Carolyn, and Will.
Kellie, if you would, could you give us a thumbnail on the freshmen in the program, what you see, what you like out of each one?
Yeah, absolutely. Tess Darby she is an excellent shooter and a really hard worker. She is one of those players that will ask a lot of questions because she just wants to get it right. And, you know, comes from a winning program, and I think we feel that from her. Destiny Salary, same thing in terms of coming from a winning program. She brings a lot of energy, a lot of personality, which I think is just as important as any basketball skill she can bring. But right now on the court, she's doing a really good job handling the ball. She's doing a job getting to the basket and knocking down shots too. So we've really liked seeing her development this preseason. Marta Suarez is very dynamic. She has a wide skill set. She can play several positions. You know, she's got a little baller in her, and you know, is really fun to watch because she can make plays.
Carolyn.
Hi, Kellie. Good to see you Can't wait to see you in person. I hope that happens soon. But two of your freshmen, I want to start with Jordan Horston and Tamari Key from last year. And where have you seen their improvement growing coming into this season?
We'll start with Jordan. I feel like her maturity level has been raised. I think she is already more consistent in coming up and showing up at practice, doing what she needs to do to be successful. She looks amazing right now. I mean, she looks the part. She walks out on the court. She's bigger and stronger than everybody. And I think what we're trying to work on is let's now translate that into your aggressiveness at the basket. You know, she's knocking down shots. She's getting to the basket. So her strength and size right now could allow her to play more powerfully this season. You know, I think Tamari is still, she is just really talented. I think for her growth is still, you know, just taking that talent to the next level and not just being talented, but outworking someone or, you know, being more aggressive on the court, not letting plays happen to her go out and make plays because she is so capable of doing that.
And then Ray Burrell went from that sixth man to starting the final part of the season. So, you know, what are you seeing from her right now? Yeah,
so Ray, I think, first off, I think she was the ultimate sixth man. Absolutely. That is what you want. You want somebody coming in fearless, playing downhill, being aggressive, coming off the bench, because that's firepower coming off the bench. So I thought that was a great role that she filled for us. But she did a really good job when she stepped in the starting role for sure. I think, again, she's still showing that aggressiveness. She's showing a lot of high energy plays. She's knocked down a lot of shots. I think she's had some really good practices, and the more she plays, the better she's going to get, in my opinion.
And then my last question is, with SEC football, a lot of people are talking about the defense has been behind. Do you see that could possibly play a part in women's basketball in the SEC? And where do you feel like you're so defensive minded, where your defense is compared to where your offense is? That's
such a great point. We have spent more time on our offense. I will say we've spent a lot of time on offense this off season, and a lot of that is by design. You know, if at any point, you know, we could lose practices, you know, due to COVID, and so what we've tried to do is front load, put as much of the teaching aspects that we can have in. We put that in early so that, you know, at any point we're still going to be in pretty good shape in terms of what we can do. And I think for us, we felt like the defense would be one of those things that we could pick up late if we needed to. So we've been heavy on the offense early on, and then by design, and then we've really picked up the defense. I've been proud of them, how they've started off the preseason defensively. So hopefully we can stick with that.
Let's go with Will, and then Maria Cornelius, and then Nicholas.
When you're talking about earlier having, you know, more depth this season than years past, what are some challenges that you anticipate when you try to, I guess, give players minutes and try to have a deep rotation like you did last year?
Well, I think the issues arise because players want to play. You know, everybody wants to play as many minutes as they could possibly play. But I think if you go back and look at my teams historically, have played a lot of people. It just takes communication with your players. I think it also just takes them buying in and understanding how effective and beneficial it is to have a solid, deep rotation, and when and where the positives will show will be at the end of the year, at the end of the game, when you've got a little bit more fresh legs. And, you know, I feel really good about it. I see less challenges than positives.
Maria?
Hey, Kelly, I wanted to ask you about your double Jordans, Jordan Horston, Jordan Walker. Have you figured out how to distinguish them in practice yet? What's the point guard situation there? And also, if you could just give us an overview of Kian Green and how she's been doing.
Okay. So Jordan Horston, I called her Jordy last year. And then when Jordan Walker arrived, she said her nickname was Jordy. So we couldn't have two Jordans with nicknames Jordy. So Jordan Walker has, she is affectionately called Joe. So JoJo or Joe is Jordan Walker. So we'll refer to Jordan Horston and Joe Walker. But yes, both of those players are playing point right now as well as Destiny Salary. We're trying to get those three solid reps throughout the practices. Jordan Horston and Destiny Salary can also play the off guard with no problem. So we can play those players together, which gives me, again, depth, but a lot of different combinations, which I think is really, really valuable and useful. But they've done well. I think they're picking things up. I've really been impressed with Destiny Salary and Jordan Walker walking in and stepping up, being vocal, asking questions, getting things right, being aggressive. They've not played timid at all, and I think that's tough to do, especially at a point guard position when you're new. So really, really proud of them and really excited about their growth. Kian Green has made a big impact on our team already. She comes in with great maturity, great leadership, unbelievable work ethic on the court. I think she took 4 charges in practice. I mean, this is a tough, hard-nosed kid that wants the basketball, and if you don't throw it to her, she'll just go get the rebound. So she's been really good for us thus far.
Did you say that she took 4 charges? I don't know that you had anybody take 4 charges total last year. She took those in practice? Yeah.
Trust me, I already know that. Yes. So, yes, that's why I want to make a note of that. 4 in 1 practice is pretty impressive.
Nicholas, Graham, and Jimmy.
Yeah, Coach. So the other night, your team had a roundtable discussing social issues with UTPD and Knoxville PD. Just talk about how that came about and what did your team gain out of it?
Well, we are having ongoing diversity, inclusion, equality discussions, and we are consistently having conversations with our team to educate, to find our voice, and to also find where we can make a difference, where our team and as a whole can make a difference. So we have different discussions every couple of weeks, and we were very fortunate to have Chief Lane, one of his officers, Officer Bomar, and then a local police officer, Clemens, come and answer questions from our group. It was very insightful, and I think that our players have, I think they really appreciated their time and also their experience, and just sharing a different lens on what's going on in the world.
Go ahead and go to Jimmy. I see Graham, you lowered your hand. If you want to ask a question, go ahead and raise that again for me, please. Jimmy?
Kelly, how important is it for this team to get consistent low post scoring, and do you think you're capable of that?
We're definitely capable. I think the consistency was lacking last year. We would have a game where we really scored underneath, and then maybe have a couple games where we didn't. We're talented enough, and I think we've got the personnel to do it. I think for us, for our offense to be as good as it could possibly be, we need great balance with not just interior scoring, but in scoring in the paint, off the dribble, scoring behind the 3-point line, scoring in transition, scoring at the free throw line. So I think, we want to be able to put points on the board in a variety of ways. Obviously, low post work will be part of that.
Vince and then Maria.
Kellie, have you guys talked about as a team any plans for election day or even early voting, anything organized within your team that you can share?
Yes, we have, so we have 100% registration to vote at this point, and we're working on getting absentee ballots because most of our players are going to be voting by absentee ballot. So we're working on getting those in and turned in. We are off that day, and just to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to get out and vote. I think a lot of our staff has either early voted or is planning on early voting, and I think we're still a few weeks out, so we've got some opportunities to think about what we could do as a program to assist in helping promote voting this year.
Maria.
Kellie, you already talked about Tamari Key and Kian. I wanted to ask you about your post depth this year and size. Cassie, the off season she had and how that's made her better. And then your other two posts, Jaden, I know she was limited somewhat last season by injury. Emily Saunders, of course, was a freshman post. That's a very difficult position to be in. But where are the three of them right now? And how can they help you this season?
Cassie has had a terrific off season. I mean, she looks great. She has practiced with more confidence. She's been really, really good, and I'm proud of her. She has a motivation going into her senior year that she wants to go out and have a really strong senior season. And she's had a good off season to get that started. Jaden McCoy, again, I think for her, being able to be that rebounder, that player that can score on the block, can play a little bit of perimeter for us in a 4-out situation. Be the player that is going to help us be better when she steps on the court, right? Be a great defender, be very versatile in who she guards. And we need to be able to have that trust in her when she goes out there that she's going to be solid. That's what we need from her to be the best we can be. And then Emily, I think she's just continuing to work and play at this speed and, try to find ways to use her size, because that is her advantage when she's out on the court.
All right, we'll take one final question from Carolyn Peck.
To go along with that, Kellie, so many coaches are talking about playing with pace, and I feel like they're doing that because they don't have size. You have size. So at what tempo do you want to see your team play this season?
Well, I want to play with pace too. And because the great thing is my size is mobile. I mean, they can go. And so, Cassie is flying down the court. Tamari Key can really run. Kian Green is as fast as about any guard we have. So I think we've got some speed in the interior. So just because we're big, that doesn't mean we want to play slow. We still want to get up and down the court. Tamari Key, if she runs the floor well, and she beats a post down the court, guards are going to struggle guarding her at the basket if there's a mismatch in transitions. We want to try to take advantage of that. And our guards will push the ball. They'll push the ball. So there will be some opportunities for our post players that they'll get down the court. And I think they will.
All right, Coach, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys. You'll have a great day.
We'll have Rennia Davis shortly. Start out with Carolyn Peck.
Hi, Rennia. Great to see you.
Too, Carolyn.
So from March until now, what have you been able to do to work on your game, to also stay, mentally ready and prepared in coming into your senior season?
Man, since March has seemed like so long. I've literally been in the gym all the time. That's all we can do. During the pandemic, obviously we couldn't get energy immediately, but outside, just working on what I could. I've really been focusing on my ball handling and just overall strength conditioning. I feel like I needed to get stronger this year, so I think I've been working on that and doing pretty good. So
you got your guns ready.
I got a little bit of guns now, yeah.
And then in coming into practice now and watching your team on the court, who besides yourself has stood out?
Man, that's a good question. Everybody has, in my opinion, everybody from last year has improved. And everybody who's came in this year has really brought positive energy to this team, really has bought into what we're trying to do. I can't pinpoint a specific person because I just personally think everybody has improved. Like, I'm not even sugarcoating. Like, I just feel like that, so.
And then my last question is, Coach Harper really, she complimented on what a great player you are and your ability to score and shoot the ball, but she also referenced your defense. Have you made that a priority this season? Is that something that you've been working on?
I'm laughing only because I used to hate defense. So I got to college, learned the importance of it, and really has put in effort in that area. Like, I've really been trying. I think defense is all about effort at the end of the day anyway. So just pushing myself every day in practice, guarding these quick guys that we practice against and stuff. I really think I've improved and got better.
And if I could ask one more question, did you follow the WNBA this season? This is somewhere where you could see yourself next or in after this season is over. If so, what have you learned from that you know you've got to bring and working on improving your game?
Yeah, this has definitely been the most that I've watched the WNBA, obviously, because that's where I want to be at next year. The biggest thing I think I'll take away from it is I think one of the advantages I will have is getting out in transition. I think that last year I did pretty good in that, and I saw like Diamond is one of my favorite players, obviously. And when she got in transition, she scored majority of the time. I think I have advantage in that area, just having fresher legs than some of the other players that's been in the league a little bit longer than me. So I think I have advantage there, getting out in transition and scoring easy baskets.
Great, thank you.
Maria and then Gustavo.
Rennia, you've got a lot of post depth this season, particularly with the addition of Kian Green, who I imagine you're pulling for them, because if you got post depth, then you can stay at the 3 spot and not the 4 spot. What is Kian Green bringing to the team? Kellie mentioned she took 4 charges in 1 practice, which I'm not sure that's ever happened, but what about the post depth, and what can you tell me about Kian Green as a newcomer?
Yeah, Maria, Kian is tough. That is probably the simplest way I can put it. She is tough. The charges, to me, again, just amplifies how tough she is. Obviously, we had Lou last year to take those charges. Kian just being able to step in and kind of fill in that role, like that was huge for us that she was able to do that. And then she communicates really well with the guards who are out there playing with her. So I really like playing with Kian.
Gustavo and then Nicholas.
Rennia, this offseason has been the most challenging one for you guys, and you, Ray, and Tamari are the starters, returners, and you're a senior. How important the leadership of those more experienced players are going to affect the overall of the team?
Yeah, leadership is going to be huge for us, as it has been huge for us since I've been here. I just think that this year we have more people that are willing to step into that role, but also we have more people that are willing to listen this year and willing to follow. So I think that's huge too. Our communication has improved since I've been here, in my opinion, and I'm just really excited about this year and where we're going.
And of course, last season, the way it finished, you guys, finished the SEC tournament, that were able to play the NCAA one. That feeling of one and more, do you guys going to carry for this season? Like, since the last season ended abruptly?
Yeah, yes. For me, I can only speak for myself, but for me personally, the way our season ended last year, it's still not sitting right with me. Not even because of the pandemic, but just how we performed our last game. I don't think I'll forget. So I've been using it as motivation this off season, and so that I won't put us back in that same position again next year.
Nicholas and then Graham.
Yeah, with the schedule not being out yet, I'm just curious, how does that affect a team in their preparation when they don't know exactly when they're going to be stepping on the court to play for the first time this season?
Yeah, that's a great question. It can be hard to stay focused if this is not what you really want to do, but since it is something that I actually want to do and I enjoy doing, I'm passionate about, I think it's important that we stay ready. I think Kellie has been keeping us with that mindset as well, not letting us get lax, not really being concerned about a specific start date, but just knowing that we're playing so that when it's time to play, we're ready and we don't have to get ready.
Graham.
All right, thanks for being here and doing this. You were talking earlier about the WNBA as kind of that place you aspire to be. And obviously all basketball players now do have that option of an extra year of eligibility. Is a fifth basketball season anything that would be intriguing to you possibly at Tennessee?
I'm sorry, Graham, can you ask the last part again?
Yeah, is the idea of playing a fifth season at Tennessee anything that would be intriguing to you?
Oh, yeah, I'm not closed off to anything right now. I'm more so just focused on how we're going to do this season coming up. I think I have a lot of time to think about whether I want to enter my name into the draft next year or return for a fifth season. But as of today, I'm not as concerned about that as maybe other people are.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Are there any other questions for Rennia? Jordan?
Hey, Rennia, Kellie talked about your freshmen and kind of how vocal they are and the energy they bring to the team. How have you seen that impact this team maybe differently than in the preseason than a year ago?
Yeah, Jordan, I love our freshmen this year. I honestly wish I came in with this much confidence my freshman year because I feel like I would have been a lot further along. But the freshmen we have this year, they're willing to talk, but they're also willing to learn. They have great personalities, just great presence, good vibes, good energy, and I think you don't run across groups like that so often. So I'm excited for our freshmen, what they're going to bring to the team. I know they're all going to contribute in some way as well.
Do you see that confidence primarily in just their vocality with some of the upperclassmen, or is it also kind of displayed in the way that they go about their game and they perform in practice?
It's really both. I can speak for one freshman in particular, Destiny, because I've been in the gym with her probably more than any of the other freshmen. And she already has a great personality, but then she just has like this confidence about her as well. So it's like all of that tying in together. She can play. She's pretty good. She's actually done more than what a lot of us probably expected. And she just has great energy. First thing she told me was that, she didn't come here to sit on the bench. And I like that. I mean, that gives me confidence. That lets me know that I'm going to have at least one person every day in practice that's going to push me. So I really appreciate that about her.
Rennia, back to
Will.
Sorry, back to the leadership topic that you were talking about a second ago. How do you balance being encouraging, being very positive to help your teammates out when maybe some adversity hits, and I know that's probably later in the year, balance that with having that tough conversation with players or demanding that they do things to help your team as a leader on the team? How do you balance those two to make sure the team is getting better?
Well, Vince, I think that's tough for any leader, especially with so many new players that we had come in this year. But I think for me, the biggest thing is those relationships, building those relationships outside of basketball. I think that's important because if that happens, if I'm able to communicate with maybe a freshman or something just about food or what they ate for today, just let them know that I care about them in other ways than basketball, then when we get on the court, it just makes it that much easier to communicate. And I think people take things less personal that way too.
Will, and then Maria.
Kellie talked a lot about how positive the team's depth looks this season. I guess when as a senior, when you look at the roster and look at the depth, I guess how excited does it make you to see that you have, a full 13-player team in terms of scholarships and the rotation that you guys will have with that?
Yeah, we have 13 players, but we don't have 13 players that are just like on the roster. We have 13 players that can play basketball. We also have 13 players that I feel like will be able to contribute at some point this year. So for me, that's extremely motivating, especially somebody that's had to play extensive minutes in previous years. Just having somebody on the bench that can come in and give me a breather sometimes, or if I get in foul trouble, there not being a drop off with the subs. I think that's huge too, and I think this year that's definitely going to be on full display.
Maria.
Rennia, the transfer portal can change a roster year to year. And last March, you guys lost a couple guards. It looked like you may be the backup point guard. So I would imagine you were thrilled about Jordan Walker coming to Tennessee. Just tell us about the newcomer, the graduate transfer, and how she can help the other Jordan at point guard.
Yeah, man. Maria, that is actually exactly what I was thinking. I was like, I'm about to be PG2. I'm about to really have to work on my ball handling, which is what I needed to do that anyways. But I was like, I'm really going to have to lock in on ball handling this offseason. But I talked to Jordan prior to her coming and just encouraged her. And she obviously seen it fit to be here. And I'm so glad she came. She's such a tough player. She has so much poise, confidence in herself, confidence in her teammates, and she just adds something at the point guard spot that I don't think we've had in a while. She's aggressive up there, and I really like playing with her.
All right. Any final questions for Rennia? Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank y'all.